Hello, my ghosts and ghoulies, and welcome to another thrilling episode of Hito's Haunted House. Have you ever been to a Chuck E. Cheese or any other similar establishment with animatronic characters? You know the ones that just don't look quite right with how they move or how their mouths never match what they're saying. If these things creep you out, then boy, do I have a game for you. Five Nights at Freddy's. This game has taken horror fans by storm and has become one of the most popular games around these days. And with that being said, it is actually an indie game developed by a single individual, Scott Cawthon, and it is thought to be one of the scariest games in years. But is it really? Let's break it down and see if this game is actually as scary as people claim it to be. Five Nights at Freddy's has a very simple story overall. You just got a job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza as a night shift security guard. Sounds pretty nice, right? A job where you can just sit on your ass and be on Facebook while you watch an empty restaurant at night? Nope. Immediately after starting your first night, you are contacted over the phone by a past employee, or more specifically, the recording of the last security guard. He then informs you that the animatronic animals here tend to become a little quirky at night, in that they will wander around the restaurant. Okay, sure, I can deal with that. However, if these animals happen to see you, they will forcefully shove you inside one of the animatronic suits, which will murder you. Great, now my sweet job has become an ordeal. So, now you have to survive from midnight to 6 a.m. from these animatronic monsters. The story from here on out is just you trying to survive the rest of your work week at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Why anybody would want to return after the first night is beyond me, but it's a video game, so don't think about it. There are 4 animatronic characters you have to deal with. Bonnie the Bunny, Chica the Chicken, Foxy the Fox, and of course, Freddy Fazbear himself. These animatronics wander around the restaurant, and it is rationalized that these robots are actually just malfunctioning, which is why they try to murder you. But there is a little bit of a story behind these characters. In one of the rooms, there is a poster with health and safety rules for the restaurant. My favorite, of course, being don't poop on floor. But on some of the nights, the poster will change to a news article about the restaurant. This news article is hard to read in-game, but a few noble souls took it upon themselves to examine it. It reads that the restaurant is being shut down by the end of the year since a man in a Freddy Fazbear suit lured 2 children backstage and proceeded to murder them. This later escalated to 5 more children being murdered before the killer was apprehended. However, the bodies of the children were never recovered. With the bad press, as well as the incident known as the Bite of 87, where one of the animatronics bit off the frontal lobe of one of the customers, the restaurant is going to be shut down. In addition, the restaurant also has many complaints about the animatronics reeking of death, as well as oozing with mucus and blood, with the assumption that the bodies of the dead children are stuffed inside the animatronic suits. This article has spawned tons of theories around the animatronics. Before, people thought that the animatronics were simply malfunctioning, but with how the method of murder is shoving you in a suit, it is theorized that the animatronics are actually haunted by the spirit of the murderer. Or a darker theory to this is that the animatronics are actually haunted by the spirits of the murdered children who are reacting their revenge for their untimely deaths. Five Nights at Freddy's is actually a very simplistic game in nature. This game acts as a point-and-click game where your only options are to close the doors on either side of you, check the lights, or your iPad, which happens to be your security cameras. So, naturally, after your wonderful message, you would just want to close the doors and chill for the rest of the night. Nope. Turns out, you actually have a set amount of energy to last the night, but using your doors, lights, and cameras uses more energy, so you need to conserve what little resources you have. Which raises the question why this place is run on a gas generator while homicidal robots are around, but it's a video game, so don't think about it. This often means sitting there and waiting, wondering where these abominations are. You use the cameras to monitor the location of the animatronic animals, as well as check the lights in front of your doors to make sure someone isn't trying to sneak up on you. And if someone is nearby, you want to close these doors to prevent yourself from getting shoved in a suit. But don't run out of energy, or else you're doomed. Of course, there are a few wrenches thrown into the game, the first one being Foxy. The thing about Foxy is that he stays relatively stationary in Pirate's Cove throughout all the nights. He can be seen in one of the cameras and won't move from that position. However, if you don't keep an eye on him, he will move away from his position and run down the hall to kill you. To avoid this, you have to occasionally check up on Foxy, but not too much, because he's shy like that. The other wrench in the gears is Freddy Fazbear himself. Freddy won't actually be active for the first few nights, but once he is, it changes the game immensely. While he doesn't chase down the halls, he actually can sneak into the security room and kill you when you least expect it. The game's atmosphere is very simplistic, and that's honestly the best things about the game. There is no music, and all the atmosphere is just the sounds of the empty restaurant. Listening to the emptiness of the restaurant will make you panic when you randomly hear a footstep or something scraping against the ground. This is a great choice, since it makes it that much harder to break any sense of immersion. A soundtrack would just let you zone out and listen to the music as you try to survive. But with no soundtrack, it makes you feel like you're actually there, which makes the game that much more stressful. Moving on to the scares in this game, well, there really aren't any. And I'm sure some of you are saying, but wait, Hito, isn't this you? I don't see anything. Are you still right there? Nope, you moved. Okay, I can open this door, I think. Wait, can I? Yes, I can open this door.
Pop the light on at least for 2 seconds.
And yes, that is true. But I think it's very important to note that this game is actually just extremely shocking. Every single death in this game is a jump scare, and jump scares are not scary. All that jump scares really do is trigger the fight or flight part of our brains, which dumps adrenaline into your system and proceed to make you feel like shit as you come down. Five Nights at Freddy's does an amazing job of setting the feeling of paranoia and dread into the player. Being stationary and with the task of monitoring the enemies, as well as making sure your power doesn't go out, it leaves the player with a very stressful task of just staying alive. That stress is even more heightened when you lose track of the animals, and then you panic to quickly try to save yourself before something horrible sneaks up on you to smash your head in. But all of that paranoia and dread is killed by a jump scare. I'm sure that on anyone's blind run, their reactions to dying the first time might have looked something similar to mine. But after the first jump scare, it takes away from the scare overall. It might be a different face or a different animation, but the overall fear isn't there because you have nothing to be afraid of. Even more so, the thing that adds a lot of fear to horror games is the mystery of it all. And this game ruins it by showing you exactly what your assailants look like. The point of the game is to monitor them and to make sure they don't sneak up on you. So while you're playing, you get to see every detail they have, killing any form of mystery to you. I mean, for fuck's sake, you stare at a poster of Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica throughout the entire game. The big thing about this game that really removes the fear is the repetition and predictability. After seeing the first jump scare, you've seen them all. And after you die the second or third time, it desensitizes you to the fear, making each death just a bland and boring restart button to the night. On top of that, you can predict when the jump scares will happen, which again takes away from the fear. The only time Bonnie and Chica will kill you is when they're standing right outside your door, and you look at the cameras while they're still standing there. And if they're not in either doorway when you check the cameras, then it's all clear. This is once again where Freddy and Foxy screw everything up, but I guess the game would have no difficulty if you can just check the lights all night long. I will give this game one big pardon, because it does jump scares right, rather than just being a boo, tee, did I scare you moment that most horror films do nowadays. It actually builds up the fear and anxiety throughout your nights with no release other than the jump scare itself. They don't pepper in jump scares just to try to keep you on your toes, but they use it as a form of punishment for failing, which is a nice way to see it done. Is this game really the scariest game in years? Well, personally, I don't think so. However, this is definitely one of the most stressful and shocking games I have ever played. The task of monitoring the animatronics, as well as your power and what time there is left, is a very stressful endeavor, and that's what heightens the overall gameplay. And that is honestly what makes the game as amazing as it is. The game is very simplistic, and that's what makes it at least scary. Without all the bells and whistles, it allows the player to just get immersed, making the scares that much more scarier. And while I'm still not a fan of jump scares, this game is very, very scary, and it deserves all the attention that it got. And if this is true, then that means we have another fun time at Freddy's coming soon. And if somehow this review has reached the creator, please give them voices, please give them voices, please give them voices. Well, thank you all for stopping by Hito's Haunted House, but sadly, I need to get going. I'm late for my shift.